Have you set a course for your life? Do you do that every day? Knowing what you want is intention. Knowing how to get there is a study in conscious action. This is a show about living consciously. It is about our choices, our hopes, our dreams, our work, our loves, our vision, and the practice of healing and becoming. Welcome to Cruising in the Light and Shadow. Hello, I am Sheila Marie, also known as Keecha.
And I am Anana Moon. Welcome.
And we have a friend back.
Yes. Yes, this is Francine Ang. She is here for her second time. We talked about channeling before. Well, we're going to talk more about channeling, but yoga, her life, her career, and so many things metaphysical.
Yes, that's really exciting. Thank you for having me back. I had so much fun the first time.
Truly excited to have you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And we could talk for hours and hours and hours. But I wanted to recap.
Sure.
Can you explain again what is channeling?
Okay. So channeling has existed since the ancient times. You know, for times before this modern time that we are aware of. The Egyptians have done it, the Greeks have done it, the Romans have done it. They have their own priest within who works for the kings and the queens and the pharaohs. And it's a form of a communication between the human world and the higher spirits. The spirit world with the higher vibrational beings. So I really want to emphasize here is that this channeling isn't this new age movement that people like woo-woo. Like, it's been around for centuries. It's been around before even we know history, because communication with higher spirits, higher vibration beings have always existed. It's the communication between human world and the spirit world.
So even when it hasn't been popular, it has existed.
Yes.
People who channel are connecting into spirit. There are people who channel for other people and help other people learn how to make their own connections to spirit. It's always been, yes.
Would it be too controversial to ask if the Bible was channeled?
That's a very interesting question.
Well, you start with where the Bible came from.
Which
it's not just, one or two people talking from, I think, there would be plenty of people who would say there'd be, it must have come from God or must have come from Jesus. But if you're talking about the Old and the New Testament, and the Old in particular, is portions of ancient texts.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you have to remember the Bible itself, it's a form of teaching for multiple generations of people. It's not just one particular generation of a group of individuals. So I believe throughout the history, the Bible itself has changed along its ways with its teachings, and especially with the Old Testament. And it's important to remember all these teachings are all channeled through as a communicator, as an individual mediator. Like, we're all translator of nonverbal communication from spirits. So then we have to take that nonverbal communication into human language. That's always kind of the interesting journey, because the human language is very limited. Because all this is really invented by human. This English or any other languages that we speak, it's limited in its form. So to take that message from higher vibrational beings, nonverbal communication, and put into words, there is a very fine line what to cross. And I think the Bible itself.
It's true.
Yeah.
New languages were formed, spiritual languages. Sanskrit is considered a spiritual language, and it's not spoken, but it gives a broader it has a broader capacity to express spiritual knowledge and understanding. But there's Gurmukhi. There are languages that are no longer here. Aramaic is one that's understood. The Rosetta Stone has has Aramaic and has
That's more associated with Jesus, right? I believe.
well, but it existed before Jesus.
Well, yeah.
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 And it has,
Yes.
there are angelic languages, but Aramaic also has some of angel, I want to say the angelic beings also connect in to that language and the messages.
And
that come from
going back to your question about the Bible, again, you are having people taking this communication and trying to make it fit into the human language of English
Into a
or
box.
Hebrew or whatever original language
Well,
they started
And
with.
some of the Bible, a good
Yes.
deal of the Bible is Aramaic.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
That's where
that
I heard
is,
that.
it is does pertain to the
Yeah.
Bible.
So, and then it's presented the way that we know it. So I think you have to take what you need from it and leave what you don't need.
And so then you said, which would make sense, if you're receiving this amazing message from the higher spirit guides,
Mhm.
and words are only limited,
Yes.
does it manifest in other ways, like dance, painting, touch,
Sure. Of course.
yoga?
And and with, as you know, Francine, I'm giving you space to say this too. Of course, intuitively is how you're receiving this information. So through the intuitive tools like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more and more. So yes, it has to be translated from concepts or conceptual knowledge into language.
Of one form or another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Okay.
the spirits, the higher vibration beings knows how to work with specific individuals. Like if Nana is particularly strong visually, they will present the communication in maybe a visual sense.
And that would be
That's
Clairvoyance.
clairvoyance. Yes.
Mhm. So all the different skill set a channeler may have, the spirit will choose a certain way to work with us to provide with the information because they are aware of our limitations. They are aware that
Of our strength.
of our strength and what we can bring forth to get the message across, manifest itself in its most purest form.
And can you remind me which is what is your form?
Oh, okay. So we wanted to talk about the 4 clears. Maybe
Yes.
we can have Inanna maybe explain what all the 4 clears are first, and then we can talk
refresh
about refresh everybody about what the 4 clears are, and then we can talk about what we
What
we
we-
use.
what
Yes,
we
which
use,
each one of
yes.
you, yeah.
Yes.
I would say the majority of people start with being clairsentient, and that's feelings, emotions coming through your thoughts. So it's good and important to be more and more in touch with your feelings. We lived more in a world, it's kind of an understanding, we lived more in a world that was more clairsentient. But now we speak out or project out more. So getting back in touch with your feelings is really important. But spirit likes to connect in solar plexus and
Feeling your gut?
Yeah, feeling
Yes.
your gut,
Mm-hmm.
your gut through your throat or your voice, which is for the throat chakras for communication. But so clairsentience can come through that. But then there's clairvoyance, which means that it's quite possible, too, that when you're clairvoyant, you're feeling what's going on, but you're also visualizing. Or it can be pure visualization. It's like a spiritual seeing from your third eye and also seeing from your throat chakra, but you're getting visuals. You could see colors while messages are coming through. You can see scenes. You're probably someone in your dreams who sees scenes happen.
Yeah.
You may not understand all the symbolism and so forth, but you might see symbols, and so there's the visual aspect of it, but it's in the mind's eye.
Yes. So it's in the third eye or in the mind's eye. So a lot of people are asking, like, for example, if they actually do see the actual object or things. A lot of people are always wondering if they just see it right in front of themselves, like a manifestation of certain objects. Don't really quite work that way.
Not like a
It's-
hallucination. You're not going to see a real cat.
and then it disappears.
It
Yeah, right.
disappears.
No.
Not quite. That's probably a different form of manifestation.
Yeah, that's
Occasionally.
another show.
Occasionally,
right?
maybe,
Okay.
occasionally.
But
Yeah.
not all. Yeah, some
Not.
people will say, no, I actually saw it right there. And I believe that. I agree with that. But usually it's mind's eye, and people will discount their intuition.
Yeah, so the
they-
clairvoyance is
yeah.
very interesting because that, visual is strong for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very visual individuals, artists, performers, and everything else. And they are really the ones who are really in tune with their feelings too. So those two will come hand in hand for a lot of people who are intuitive, the clear feeling, the sensations of emotions, and the visual sense. They both kind of work hand in hand many times. I always describe to people that sometimes you could just only see colors, and that's a form of clairvoyance. Colors represent certain things for you. Because you work with colors, or maybe you're an artist, or, in some sense. So those skill sets are part of your everyday living activities and where your strong points are.
And that spirit can tap into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't we just have a guest who said that she felt orange or she felt
You
red?
can feel
Interesting.
color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can feel color.
Okay.
So. And then the other main one would be clairaudience or spiritual hearing. And again, it can manifest in like beeps and buzzes in your head, but it's also often a spiritual hearing. You'll hear sentences, you'll hear messages, often people in general just walking around, you might hear your name called out of the blue
I've
and
had
you're
that.
not sure.
Yeah, when I'm
Have you?
asleep and I've heard my name.
Yeah.
What?
Like, what? What do you want? Who is it?
Who is it?
I didn't do it.
This is my weirdest one was with someone I knew I had an intuitive connection with, but I was still, at this point, I was still new to clairaudience because I think you have to accept that you are all of them.
Yes.
There's also claircognizance, which is downloads of information, and that's actually connected to clairsentience. You feel it, and the message appears for you. But this is something that might happen for people who are very well connected. They could happen with twins, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives may feel it where
Twin
suddenly
flames.
something gets said. And the husband or wife or the friends will look at each other. But for me, it was my friend. And I heard, oh, I'm getting hungry. And I said, oh, okay, we can stop what we're doing and go to lunch. And she said, what do you mean? I didn't say anything. And I'm like, yes, you did. You said you're getting hungry. She said, I thought that was you. And I'm like, nobody else was there. But it was very true. We were
Yeah.
getting hungry. And so someone's suggestion was,
Sure.
you probably need to go get some
Food.
food.
Yeah. For
Tap,
sure.
tap, tap.
Tap, 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 like, you go get some.
I know.
And we both found out, it was true, actually. We both had blood sugar issues. So it was like, wow.
Yeah, before you pass out, go get some food.
Yes.
So see the higher self.
Yes.
And
The higher self,
Absolutely.
yes, that
Looking
could
out.
well be. Yeah.
Yeah. So with all that, interesting enough, I think a lot of people will try to make themselves fit into a specific type group.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like Inanna previously mentioned, we all have the abilities for all the four clairs.
We all
do.
Everybody.
At some point in time, one is stronger maybe than the others, and you start. It's just like a muscle, When you start like working out and stuff, you can't expect to pick up a 50-pounder. Maybe you can, but I can't.
You'd hurt yourself.
You would have to work yourself up to the certain level of comfort in a particular skill set. So I would say definitely is that you go with your strong your strongest point first. Like for mine was the visual. The visual was very interesting for me because I was a meditator, so I meditate every single day, and I was during meditation, a lot of this visual imageries will come forth. Now, at that point of my life, when I was studying meditation, I was taught not to be attached to the images, not to be attached to whatever the surface is, just part of the meditation practice. I never expected that they were actually communication from higher vibration beings. I thought it was just a manifestation of my own crazy mind. But at some point, it's nonstop. It's like there must be something more to just me manifesting all this images. So the deeper I would go, the more images I would get, and the images would become dreams-like. So I would have this kind of an attachment to, I want just to meditate for the next 5 hours.
Yeah, right.
It's
Just see what happens.
Yeah, just see what
I'm
happens.
going to go back
It's
into
like,
the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's
and
what my
then it was-
teachers would say too. Is,
Yes.
Yeah, the movie. You're
The
too
movie.
interested in
the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. I became so attached to the movie that I started to neglect really my real life in the reality. It's like, wow. So all I want to do is just to meditate for 3 hours, after dinner and not socialize or doing all the normal things that everybody was doing. So it's interesting. And then suddenly the images went away.
Oh,
Yes.
they were telling you to chill.
The meditation started to take its own different forms, and the images slowly dwindled away, and it started to really that's when I reached out to people and to mentors and teachers to try to understand this. For a while, as these images and during meditation was really strong. And so I think at some point I decided to just let that go. I was so attached to it, and I was really troubled by the fact that it was no longer available for me. And it was a lesson that I think it was really needed in my life at that point, that yes, you had this really strong visual skill, this clairvoyance, but let's see if we can try to tap into other clairs and see if we can just move away from the visual that was available for me. And next thing I know, during the I would say my transformation in meditation skills is the direct download. It was moving into, so it was interesting because I found out in hindsight, yes, clear knowing. And it was in hindsight that I understood that process, that first the images came, and that was the skill set that I have to be comfortable with, that I'm okay with, and that that I can easily tap into. And now that that's taken away somewhat away from me, and so let's do this download, this clear knowing, this plug-in, and let's see how you're going to be able to play with that. That's sort of kind of spirit way of teaching me.
So different steps.
Yes, it's a different skill set at that point. So it's like, okay, I know this, but do I trust it because I no longer see it? Because at some point when you do see it, you sort of say, oh, I see it with my visual eyes. I acknowledge it. I admit that I trust it. But now it's a clear knowing. This information is now downloading. How do I know it's me or if it's spirit? So it's another skill set that you kind of have to challenge yourself to practice
You have
along
to
the
step
way.
into trust.
Yes.
Trusting again. It's almost like starting over in some ways again, and so your story deepens, and the vibrational connection to spirit deepens.
And this is why I say, like, I've realized a lot of actors have moved on to become mediums and channelers, because as an actor, you learn to be open and let it
Yes.
in. So
And vulnerable.
You have
And
to total
vulnerable.
surrender.
and be in
Yes.
the moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Total surrender, and you are moving aside who you are and who you identify yourself to be.
Exactly.
Your ego, who you think you are. I am Francine. I'm this, and that. You have
I
to
play
take
these roles
Yes,
in the
I play
world.
these roles. You
Yes,
have to
yeah.
totally strip all that in
Yeah.
order to trust it. Because without trust, you could have all the skills and all the potential, but there's no trust, and so therefore you can't really develop any of that. So you trust in self, you trust you're open and you're totally surrender to the higher vibration beings to allow them to give you the download, and eventually trusting the download itself and providing that information as it comes through.
And really, all they're doing is teaching you that you're a spirit. They're reminding those of us who are in physical bodies, we're spirit first and foremost.
Yes.
And spirit knows that. And those who leave this body and go back into spirit, it's understood from messages and so forth that they know that too. So to help you understand that as a spirit, you can sense and see and know, hear everything in this vibrational consciousness is just fine. And not only acceptable, it's not crazy, it's not something mysterious to spirit. It's just what is.
One of the messages that always come through is if you're a human being, you are on a spiritual path, period. You can say, no, I'm not spiritual. I don't do anything spiritual, but you are on a spiritual path.
Every day is your spiritual path.
Every day. And that's one of the key messages that Spirit's always trying to remind us that in this physical form, we are living the spiritual path. So
I love that.
You just have to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Huh.
And
there's so many conversations going through my head.
There's so much. I know, there's so much. It, over time, and very true for many mediums and channelers, is that if you went ahead and opened to it all, they may not all work exactly the same for you. And like she said, sometimes it's like, well, the clairvoyance might not be there as much as the clairsentience. And you're finding that day to day in your meditation and your spiritual practice and so forth. But what happens when you're doing work for someone, sometimes at some point when you go into a session, their clairvoyance may be going on, and then if you can't get the information Spirit's trying to show you clairvoyantly, it'll go into your your feelings, so it'll shift. And now you're reading from your gut, your emotions, your feelings, and then there might be a interplay between the visual and the gut, and then clairaudience will come in. And Spirit, for me, what I'm finding right now is if messages can come through hearing, it'll do that. And if I stop or start to slow down and it's just not coming, then it's suddenly all I trust the screen again. Suddenly I'm seeing and I'm feeling. So it'll switch back and forth, and you just go for the ride. Yes, you go for the ride.
And a lot of very interesting is the individual that you are reading for as well, because they bring forth their strongest.
They'll sense it.
Yes, they'll sense it, and their strongest way of receiving the messages, and Spirit knows that. So Spirit's thinking,
very true.
Oh yeah,
she's a musician, so let's go this way with the clairaudience.
So you could hear like a song, like, oh, you know that song?
Yes. So it's very interesting that, because I did work with one individual who's a musician, and the music will come through, and that never works for me. That never comes through for me. It's like, what am I listening to this?
Oh,
and
I like this station.
And so it's like, I was like, I've never heard that. And I'm kind of tone deaf, so I'm not going to sing it, but I can kind of,
like, here it comes.
Here it comes.
On a wave.
Yes. And let you figure it out what that means for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the other thing you have to trust is the person you're reading for. It's like, okay, I don't know what this means, so I'm just going to say it to you.
Yes.
And they will. Again, trusting that works.
They'll
the best. They'll say, all right, that relates to thus and such.
And
say, thank you. Okay.
Yes. Because ultimately, the goal of channeling, because a lot of people say, well, why do you channel? Why do you want to bring forth messages of Spirit? Right? Well, besides that, it's fun. That's a lot of fun. And every day we have a lot of fun. Is that ultimately the Spirit is a spiritual growth, and to provide clarity, true clarity to one person's life. Providing that growth in that individual at that moment, their spiritual growth, their soul growth, to align themselves for the path that they are on, allowing that growth, that is their goal. That's all they really want for everyone, the spirit, when they come through with their channeling messages.
Well, I have a question
Very
about
much
that.
so.
Yeah.
So I love listening to the speaker. His name is Kyle Cease. And he says that when he gives advice, it's also meant for him. So do you ever give
Absolutely.
Okay. I was wondering.
yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder you love it. It's like, oh.
Absolutely. Because, if you're doing like a group sitting with a group of people, and we always say these messages may be directly to one particular person, but everyone is receiving the messages in the level, because everybody's evolution is on this path is different, but they're on this evolution path. And there was a reason why, because they all came together that day.
Yeah.
And you would notice the
Can
questions
see it.
are always all the same. Everybody has questions in pertaining maybe about the work, and you happen to have 4 people in the group and they're all having work problems, right? So everything, the spirit's already in work when people ask for readings. They're all in the background and trying to figure out how we can get these spirits, these messages to these individuals who are here
Yeah, they've
today.
been setting it up.
Yes, they've been setting up.
I just had this, all the
Having
spirits
meetings.
up there going, okay, you take him, I'll take him. And, we'll meet at 7. Okay.
The ones that still blow me away are, I get a message from a goddess or from an ascended master for someone, and a person across, and they won't get all of it. And I'm like, okay, so maybe why was that coming up? But the person across the way will say, I've been wondering about this particular being.
Of course.
Aphrodite has been speaking to me too, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So they are lining up, and they are here. They're very specific things they know they can bring through,
Sure.
or seeds that they can plant to help someone on their journey.
See, that's why I love the nights that you two do the channeling workshops.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Everybody must go and experience that. That's really awesome.
Yes, I think our upcoming workshop on June 8th at Golden Soul is an actual workshop where we actually will be teaching people how to channel on their own to connect with their own spirit guides. Because sometimes you want to know that. You want to basically how to do that, on a spur of a moment. You can't reach your teacher or a channeler, and you just want some guidance. So the workshop is a stepping stone for that, for people who have been attending our sessions for the last few months. And for those who have not, they're welcome as well to come in and take on the teachings that we will provide, that Spirit provides. All download from the Spirit, the way that we are going to be providing the information, the skill sets, and the know-how.
And for those who'd come to previous ones, come to this one as well, because the past ones were connecting to, yes, the Akashic records and therefore the ascended, but also this is going to be a little bit different. What I usually had people do is go ahead and lay down. I would lead a guided journey, but I would spend time at first talking about how you connect in, because it was an agreement. I felt it was a combination of doing a guided journey, but then also letting people experience. I would leave a good half hour or so for people to experience connecting into their spirit guides, however they connected in. Did they see them? Did they hear them? I would guide that part of the journey, and then allow them to just have their own experience. And then my desire at the end was, what did you receive? And then to validate that. But I think this will be fascinating, because there will be this opportunity to have 2 of us talking with people about their abilities. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and then tap into spirit guides, their guides. And then from there, often the way it works is the teachers also get to see who's coming in and what's coming in for someone. So
Yes.
to give them confidence of what they're receiving.
Yes.
And I think it's also, like you said, everybody comes to these classes or to wherever for a reason.
Yes.
So if one of the students comes up with a message, it might be for somebody else in there. Going,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that experience.
And it's important to give them actually practical ways of tools. So we'll be doing some exercises with the attendees.
Yes.
To how to exercise these muscles that we all have, how to tone it, and so that they can tap into slowly but surely, but like all skills, you got to practice.
There's that.
Yes. Yeah. So you may not leave. Oh my goodness! I hear the spirit world perfectly, but it's a beginning place, and yes, exactly. You can exercise those muscles.
Yes.
I love putting it that way.
Yes.
We were talking about the different ways of channeling as
Sure.
well. And yoga is
Yes.
a form of channeling. Can that be a form of channeling as well?
Absolutely. Yoga, it's a
Yoga.
movement, a physical movement.
Well, it means union.
Yes.
The word means union. So it's the physical mind to the higher self. That's a union, and then the union of the higher self to the divine or the spirit world.
Yes. And why I also venture into yoga, it's because I found that yoga is one of the most grounding form of movement abilities for people, for us.
As humans?
Yes, as humans.
I love it. Yeah.
As humans. And it's easily accessible for the most part. But,
Especially today.
Especially today, yes. And one needs to be so grounded to do the channeling work, to do the spirit world, because we are always working with our higher chakras when we're doing channeling. And yoga actually, although it does work with the higher chakras and the higher vibration, but there's a lot of grounding roots into Mother Earth as well.
So
There's
the
a
lower chakras
yes.
then ground you.
Yes, the lower chakras will ground you and all the movements. And I've been shopping, as you can say, for yoga studios for a long time and bouncing from, I always call myself like what is it called, Groupon, groupie. You buy one for a month, you go try it out, you quit and you leave. I did that for years trying to find a suitable yoga studio. Okay. And I found a yoga studio. It's called Spiral Path Yoga.
Oh my gosh,
Center.
what a great name.
I know, right? I mean, come on. How coincident this is. And it's in La Crescenta. And what's really interesting and different about their training is they emphasize on the mindfulness and accessibility of yoga. So yoga is available for everyone, not just thin, tall, thick, whatever,
So
men, women, practical.
Awesome.
Even if you have certain limitations physically.
If you're pregnant.
You need to do chair yoga, floor yoga, bed yoga. And it was really entertaining. It was really eye-opening for me because with the Instagram of the world today, we obviously get a lot of these beautiful yoga photographs of yogis. And don't get me wrong, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And their poses and their intentions, and it's really inspiring. But we have to come down to practicality here. I'm 5'2". I don't look like the 6 foot beautiful woman in Down Dog. My Down Dog looks really kind of awkward. So,
Down puppy?
Where are the sweaty yogis?
Yes,
Excuse me.
Yes. So I was
We have the
really
sweaty yogis.
Yeah, I was really comforted to find that space. And so I signed up for their teacher training.
Yay!
Gorgeous.
We just graduated about a month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
And I found what's really interesting is the yoga itself have brought me back to the roots of mindfulness, have brought me back to the roots of the meditation, the early days of my meditation years, where all I was doing was just concentrating on my breath and nothing else.
Oh, God, I'm still working on that.
As it graduates,
Paul is interested in this.
mindfulness and utterly just pure compassion and kindness, metta. And that's what Spirit's all about. It's a center of love and compassion and truth. And so yoga has really interesting integrated with all this for me.
So it's the sitting and knowing, or the still small voice within.
Yes. And, it's interesting. Some people say, well, they got to move before they sit, or they sit before they move. I find it a lot of times the yoga movement is just a complementary to the actual sitting.
Mm-hmm.
The work is done when you're sitting. The work is to be done during the meditation.
Yes.
The yoga process is just to bring you to that specific moment to release and sit and develop your clairs.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
And so, I love to hear you talk about chakras a little bit, because that's such a favorite of mine. But what happens, can you talk a little bit about what happens for your chakras, and then going through the physical yoga and how that affects the chakras for your meditation?
Sure.
Okay.
So in a Western world, and when I say Western, we're talking about just almost everywhere but the West, right? Everything in the West, basically. So in the Western culture, chakra is very limited to the common 7 chakras that we always hear about. And that's a very common practice. And I believe that was a particular practice and teaching tradition that started in the 15th century. The most common 7 chakras that we are accustomed to is the root chakra, which is our first chakra, our sacral, which is right beneath the belly,
Belly
navel.
button.
Yeah, the
The
navel.
navel.
And then the third chakra is called solar plexus, is right above our navel, and then a heart chakra. And the heart chakra, some people make it the lower heart and the higher heart. Heart chakras. And then we got our throat, obviously our speech, our communication. And then our 6th chakra is our third eye, which is right between the brow point. A lot of people use it as like the chakra of wisdom.
Third eye.
The third eye. And then finally we got the 7th, which is the crown, is right above on our crown. So these are the 7 common chakras that we're mostly accustomed to and we hear a lot about. But there is a lot of misunderstanding to it, because actually there is many different schools of chakras. You've got different lineages teaching chakras, where there's 5 chakras, there's 9, there's 12. Some goes to 21, some goes to hundreds, thousands.
Well, yeah,
Because every subtle body
Yes,
may have
its own connection. Now, a lot of people ask, well, which one's the right one? I always say that's not the right question. Because remember, chakra is all it is, it's an energy point. It's an energy point on our physical form, our aura. And like all energy, it's not solid. It's not fixed on a certain area. It moves around. It changes.
Flows and
it flows. It
pulsates.
pulsates.
Yeah.
So 5 could
It's
be
got a life.
7. Yeah, it could be 8, could be 9, could be 12. It could be 21 or thousands, depending on which lineage you are following, which lineage you're studying from. So it's not a question of right or wrong. It's whatever that resonates with you.
with each person.
With each person.
Okay.
But in
how
like,
you can get in
yes,
touch
how
with
you can
it,
get in
whatever.
touch
What works
with
for
it.
you, yeah.
Yes. And for yoga, but within all the schools, I have to say there is 3 main parts of our physical body that is in all the lineages. It's the sexual center, which is our 2nd chakra, is the sacral, and then we've got the heart, and then we've got the crown, or the third eye. Because this is where we humans feel mostly the emotional development and our spiritual development.
Exactly. And
These-
creative.
Yes, and those 2 is nonetheless everybody has. So in each, it doesn't matter what lineage you're from, those 3 points of chakras will be in part of the teachings. But like I said, the 7th chakra is a very limited form of study of chakras, because it definitely came a lot later. When I was studying this for yoga classes, for my yoga training, I found that there was a lot of earlier writings of chakras.
Yes.
It's just thousands, way before the 7 chakras became really popular.
Is that
here.
before Patanjali or
Yes.
about the time of
It was
Patanjali?
actually right before Patanjali.
He's a yoga philosopher.
Yes, he is the yoga philosopher. All the sutras that we yogis or
Yeah.
people who
Talk
go
about,
through
yeah.
talk about,
Yeah.
who go through. So
And I see another
Yeah.
show that's going to have to happen.
yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I mentioned
Oh
that.
my
in
very
one
gosh.
of-
excited.
I mentioned him in one of the earlier shows, but it was like, okay, we only have a minute here to talk
Yes.
about him. So
And
Absolutely.
he doesn't sound like a minute type person
No.
either.
No.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah. So
But that's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shall we do a reading for you?
I love readings.
Do you want? Okay, all right.
I love
Woohoo.
readings.
All right, excellent. And then we want to hear what you have coming up.
Okay.
Definitely.
A lot of fun.
Okay. For those listening, I am shuffling cards.
Cards. Yes.
Ooh, look at her.
I know, right?
Who knew playing rummy with my grandfather whatever bring me to this? Okay. It did not actually. All right. Let me cut the cards. Oops. Wow, one didn't want to pick up. That's interesting. Okay. Now, do you want a card off the top or do you
I'll
want to
take the
cut
top.
them? All right.
All right. Ooh.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, my buddy.
Oh, do you get this is the
I've been
7 of
drawing-
swords,
yeah.
everybody. All right. So some would say interesting things about him. So swords are about thought. He's kind of considered a sneak thief because he's got swords and he looks like he's dancing away with them. It doesn't mean you're doing something sneaky necessarily. It depends on the reading, but what it actually is about is if your thoughts are in air or swords, then you need a time where you don't share your ideas with others. You're in a planning stage. So you're asking, I have something I want to do, but how do I bring my thoughts to the best benefit, and then I will put them out in the world. I will manifest. So you start with the swords and you start with thought, and it's like, let's see, let me take some of this information from here, from there. What do I want to contribute and add to it? And you chart a course. So what he's doing is mapping out. He gets considered a
Wow.
sneak thief. Yes, again, it can be about someone being sneaky. It depends on the other cards around it. But what he's doing is he's charting a course within, and then eventually he'll share. So it's saying he actually reminds us to be mindful of sharing things before you're ready.
Interesting. Wow.
Or you may only be partially prepared, and if you share something, people misunderstand it, or you stop and go, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Why did I share that? It's taking your time. And so something is, see, there's
Yes.
probably a project.
Yes, there is a
Or a
project.
few. Some would say, oh, gosh, I've got a bunch of projects.
I was
but I'm
gonna
trying to
say-
figure out what to bring forth first.
Something
Yes.
came to me that I will talk to you off the air.
Ooh,
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of project. There's a project I'm working on, and honestly, I don't really know where to even start because I'm pulling all this information
That would
and trying to figure out who I can approach
be with this.
with this.
Ooh, let's
and
talk.
to discuss how to put this project together. So it's very
Fascinating.
very on point.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Great.
he's a good guy.
Yes, they're all good guys.
They
See,
are.
but we all had
They're
that
all
same
good
look.
guards.
Did you see that look that the card has? We all have that same look. Like, I have and it's
I've
that
got
little
something.
excited mischief.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's mischievous,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah.
for sure.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So what do you have coming up that you would like to share?
Sure. I'm going to be at, because we were talking about chakras, and I'm also a Reiki master healer. And so I'm going to be at Dual Crossroads, which is basically like a storefront in South Pasadena.
Oh,
I'm going to be there from May the 26th between 1 and 6 doing healing sessions. So people who are interested in receiving mini treatments or, 20 minutes or hour or 30 minutes, however you want, I think you can contact Dual Crossroads in South Pass. That information is on my Instagram. I'm more of an Instagram person than Facebook. I don't think I have
Okay.
any friends on Facebook.
that explains a lot. I
really?
just thought you didn't like me.
Oh no, I'm not too active on Facebook. Partly it's because it's too confusing for me.
Okay.
It really is. Instagram is like shoot, post, done.
This
You
is
know,
a good
very
lesson for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Facebook's a little convoluted for me. So, so I'm going to be there. And then on June 1st, we have our channeling session.
We are channeling at Indigo Alliance in Pasadena.
Uh-huh.
It's a Friday evening, 7 to 9 p.m.
That's right.
So the things we've been talking about, you can come and watch us work together, but individually for the people who are in attendance.
So,
Bring messages.
Instagram name?
Instagram is Soulful Om. So Soulful _Om. Soulful _Om was taken and I couldn't come up with one. And I ended up with Soulful Om. So there you
So
go.
we'll also post it on our
Here an ohm, there an ohm.
Yes, every Om.
That's yeah.
I know.
Great
My
way of
friends are like,
remembering.
did you know your Instagram
You have a
is
double
like
Om?
double Om is there? I go, yes, I
double
know.
ohm.
Home of the double ohm. I'm sorry.
I love that.
Can't seem to stop.
No, that's great.
That's great. Yeah.
Well,
And,
now see, that sticks in
and-
the head.
and I am teaching my first community yoga class at the Spiral Path Yoga Center and Lacan Center on
Absolutely.
June 10th.
Okay.
That's going to be on my Instagram as well. It's a donation-based class, so please come. And I will make sure we won't be all in pretzels poses.
Okay, then I might come.
I think I'm going to be teaching yoga for sleeping. How to help to
Ooh. Oh, I
release.
need that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
How to have
is
a
that
nap.
the
Might need
will that be the main pose?
I could do that. I could do that.
Handle
Yes,
that.
yes, we can handle being on our backs,
Beautiful.
Savasana for like an hour.
So give me that Instagram name one more time.
Sofu Om. So it's soulful _Om
Yes.
_Om.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
Anana, they can
And-
find you at.
And then on June 8th, one more reminder that that's our channeling workshop at Golden Soul in Los Angeles or Los Feliz, where we are teaching you some practical tools and helping you connect to your spirit guides. That's happening. And you can look on my website, inanamoon.com, but
and,
also Golden Souls.
and Lilydale is quickly approaching.
And Lilydale, not long after that, that is on July 3rd in Lilydale, New York, where Lilydale Assembly is, which is the oldest home of spiritualism and mediumship, run by Lisa Williams and a beautiful group of mediums that have served the United States, the world, the community for a very long time. But I'm honored, among many others, to be part of their summer program. And so I'm teaching a class on using your chakras for intuitive development. So that's July 3rd, 2 to 5 p.m. And if you can get to upstate New York, please come and visit. It'll be relaxing and beautiful and a fun time
And all that,
before and after that date. as
oh,
well.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And all that can be found on inanamoon.com.
.com. Yes.
And then my stuff, just Laughing House Productions. We're on Amazon Prime streaming. So have a romantic evening and watch First Comes Lake, our movie, and you can laugh with The Secret Office. And, you know, we've done quite a few shows, and I've neglected to thank Paul Preston, our engineer.
As a matter of fact.
Yes, of course.
Oh, no.
Our engineer, editor, he keeps us balanced.
It's, yes.
So thank you, Paul.
You're welcome, gang.
And I also want to thank Francine
Thank you.
for
Thank you for
returning.
having me.
Yes,
And you will
very
be coming
much so.
back.
Yes.
Very much so.
So
Thank you
much
so
to talk about.
Yay. Great. I'm excited. There's at least 3 other shows I have in my mind that we need to talk with you.
Okay.
Sounds good. Do you want to share? You have either a meditation or a mantra. Is that something you would like to share?
Yes.
All right.
I like to close.
Is there anything else you want to say, and then we'll let Francine share as we close.
And cool.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So I will close this circle with a mantra. And the meaning of the mantra is Loka Shamasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It means may all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the thoughts, words, behavior of my own life contribute in some ways to that happiness and freedom for all. So I'm going to chant it 3 times. All right, we're going to give palms to the heart center.
Yes.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. And so it is. Blessed be. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine.
Thank you, ladies.
I want to also thank David Shostak for his music. And I want to thank all of you for joining us in Cruising in the Light and Shadow.
This is Anana Moon.
I'm Sheila Keecha Marie, reminding you that love is everywhere. Our lives touch everyone and everything. So please go forth in love.
Satnam and Om Shanti.